to me. What belongs to me is only the right to an honorable livelihood, a return for labor and care, no better than that enjoyed by millions of others. The rest belongs to the community and must be used for the welfare of the society. MBT is constantly inspired by the thought leadership of Mr. P. Vijayan IPS. From a child laborer in paddy fields and construction sites and a self-taught school dropout, Mr. Vijayan traveled a long way till he reached the prestigious Indian Police Service. Mr. Vijayan is the brain behind many nationally acclaimed policing and community initiatives. He is the winner of the CNN IBM Indian of the Year in 2014 and the Indian President's Police Medal for Meritorious Service in 2016. MBT has its roots in various philanthropic activities initiated in 2006. These include Operation Candlelight, MBT Learning Centers, SEEP, and Project Hall. And yes, when the nation went into lockdown during the pandemic, MBT rose to the occasion and took up programs spreading positivity and exploring possibilities of human resilience. MBT's initiatives like Feed a Stomach program, drug banks, the Vasi Help Desk, and Break Chain, Make Change campaign captured the public imagination in no time. As part of reaching out to the people locked up due to lockdown, MBT launched the Post Talk series. Post stands for Positivity and Possibilities, the very lifeline of human existence. Since then, the program has gathered a huge viewership from across the world, nearly 100 speakers who have etched their marks in professional excellence addressed to MBT audience. Figures show that on average, the Post Talk held on Fridays Indian time at 7 p.m. reached 3 million people every week. The overwhelming success of Friday Talks prompted MBT to launch the global section of Post.
Good evening. Welcome to the 10th episode of Post Global Talk Series. Respected Police IG Sri P. Vijayan IPS, Honorable Speaker Ms. Sagarika Ghose, valuable participants across the globe, and my own team at Mission Better Tomorrow. I take pleasure and feel privileged in introducing to you a popular speaker who's known for her distinctive style, Ms. Sagarika Ghose, to talk about the topic, Liberty and the Media, how free are the journalists to tell the truth, and also to address a few questions post her talk. Ms. Sagarika Ghose is one of India's most noted journalists, as well as an author and a broadcaster. She was a prime-time television news anchor for BBC World on Question Time India, as well as on the news network of CNN IBN, and has also worked in Times of India, Outlook Magazine, and Indian Express. Author of 2 novels, as well as the recently published best-selling biography of Indira Gandhi, Indira, India's most powerful Prime Minister. Her most recent published work is the critically acclaimed Why I Am a Liberal, a manifesto for Indians who believe in individual freedom. Ms. Ghose has won numerous awards in journalism, including the C.H. Mohammad Koya National Journalism Award, as well as the Best Anchor Award from the Indian Television Academy. I now take you all through a short journey of Ms. Sagarika Ghose by airing a video.
Mission Better Tomorrow, inspiring positivity and exploring possibilities. One of India's most noted journalists, best-selling author, a broadcaster who stood with the truth, Sagarika Ghose needs no introduction. She has been with the Times of India, Outlook magazine and the Indian Express. In the age of electronic media, her presence was marked as primetime television news anchor for BBC World on Question Time India as well as on the news network CNN-IBN. After writing 2 novels and the best-selling biography of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, Sagarika Ghose has come up with a critically acclaimed treatise, Why I Am a Liberal, a manifesto for Indians who believe in individual freedom. Madam, it is an honor to host you this evening as you speak on liberty and the media. Welcome to the 10th episode of Post Global Talk.
Madam, Mission Better Tomorrow is truly blessed by a gracious presence, and a presence brings new happiness and a lot of new inspirations to the Post audience globally. We look forward confidently that you will generate more interest as you share perspectives on that topic. But dear audience, before we listen to our expert speaker and widely read columnist who currently writes syndicated columns in the Times of India and who is also listed as one of the world's most famous women Rhodes scholars, let me now invite respected IG Sri P. Vijayan IPS for presentation of the topic and to give a quick overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Anandhamani. Very good evening and thank you so much, Madam Sagarika Ghose, for joining us this evening. I think it is the 72nd weekly talk series, the 10th global talk series. Many million persons have come and gone, and over 10 million audience. It could reach to over 10 million audience during last 72 weeks. That is an incredible achievement which goes to the credit of the MBT team. It is a beautiful team across the globe is working together for this particular event, and I congratulate each one of them because they have done a extremely good job. Generally, that is police and media will not get along for a long time because there is some sort of historic animosity exists between these two fundamental pillars of any country. But there are many things common between police and media. One is that media is the fourth stage in democracy after the legislative, executive, and the judiciary. And it fundamentally stands for upholding the constitution or the fundamental rights of the citizens, and it fight for the prevalence of justice across the nation. And its contribution in India's struggle for independence is inexplicable, and especially our great Mahatma Gandhi used media extensively to unite India and to strengthen the fight against the British colonial empire. In modern democratic India also, when we just celebrated 74th India's independence, and India stands united. So the major credit goes definitely to the media community. And moreover, when we boast about the 74 years of existence, some of the most important things, one is that we have a vibrant democracy, and second thing that's about this independence of judiciary. Then we will talk about that free press. That is the three things we can definitely say that is the modern India. It's the greatest achievement. So that you can very well appreciate the importance of the media which has played over the last 74 years of independence. And the police actually that is stands as the part of the second estate, we can say, the executive. It also stands for upholding the rule of law and ensuring justice across all sections of people, caste, creed, and religious faith. And in democracy, when we talk about the rule of law, in democracy, the constitution is the ultimate law. And so that and the police is supposed to be the guardian of the constitutional rights or fundamental rights. But when we look historically, in fact, that's both media and police was not with the right side of judiciary all the time. When we look at this during this, when we look at this, that's nationalist-owned media times or the imperial period and all that time. That's mostly they were not with the side of justice. We can see that is true in the case of police too. And when we look at that, India's first struggle for independence, 1857, when there was the riot or the struggle for independence was started, the British newspaper, the Illustrated London, reported as Sepoy Mutiny. That's I think that they are the people first termed it as Sepoy Mutiny. When we look at this efforts of abolition of slavery in America, the struggle was always considered as mostly considered as the struggle against the state. And in days of and mostly that during the days of nationalist press, it was mostly with the ruler rather than seldom with the ruled and the oppressed. There was some extraordinary cases also here in Kerala. There is a Sudesha Abhimani Ramakrishna Pilla. He was actually exiled from his place for standing with the oppressed and for their freedom. And it's more sad to say about my own organization, that is police. It was actually, we can say that sometimes or many times during these days, police was not with the oppressed, but part of the oppression. When we talk about this India's struggle for independence, in suppressing India's struggle for independence, the police was actually the instrument in the hands of the British Empire. And in case of the Nazi genocide also, we can see that the police actively participating in the genocide of the Jews in Germany. So many things have changed over the years because from that imperialistic nationalist movement period to more democratic state we have come. There are but something as far as a journalist and police is concerned, there still remaining something common. That is, one is about its job. Its job, mostly the job of a police officer and a journalist are not created by them. It is mostly created by the people around them. So it doesn't have any control over its job. Another thing is that I used to say that the common calendar and time schedule is not applicable for a media person and police person also. So in a way, when there are many things actually, many areas we can certainly fight for our better job and work conditions, but it has more larger purpose in its existence. So here the fundamental question is that in both cases, the media and the police cases, the bigger question is that how we are to tell the truth or to stand with the truth. And often in media, that's big media houses and always talks about the media, the neutrality, objectivity, impartiality, and all. But it's all we know that is the bigger marketing gimmicks which often happens. There are many interests. Most often the media persons are also, or media in general are influenced by various interests, political, business, caste, and religious approach. So, but besides that, when I would say that it's been influenced by this various type of interests, that doesn't mean that the entire journalists are influenced. But the thing is that it plays a role in what to write, what to see, what to be reported, and all. It's had some sort of compulsions like this interest, and moreover, that is the competition which exists in the modern era. It also leads to sensationalism. But when we talk about the competition, at the time of independence, there was only 200 newspapers published across the nation. Now, I think there are over 17,000 newspapers are in different languages are published across the state, across the nation, and over 400 TV channels are telecast in 24/7 news. So definitely there will be competition. To fight with the competition, to stand up with the competition, most often it leads to sensationalization also, we could see. And I think that for a journalist has to be a very passionate person, because the passionate in the sense that he or she has to be passionate for the protection of human rights, passionate for the preservation of justice, or protection for the development of the underdeveloped, and after all, the passion for the upholding the truth. But that should be the fundamental principle. But to start extent, it could stand for that one. That is an important question. Once Desmond Tutu told that that is the neutrality against, that is when we stand neutrality in a time of injustice and oppression, we could definitely say that all the people who are supposed to be neutral are standing with the oppressor. So here, another thing is that another bigger challenge which has been thrown open is that the presence of the social media, and there are 56 crore of social media users in India alone, and most of them are posting their own news or sensations. Now the biggest question for the public is how they will differentiate between the two, among the in between the false and the fiction. That's the biggest challenge for a common man is concerned. So here, as a responsible citizen, I think that the responsible analytic of news, he has to be very, very vigilant, and he has to apply his own tools of analysis to come to the truth. That is the biggest challenge right now that's a media person is concerned. But the another opportunity is that it's now the media has been made more democratized from the corporate houses, big houses, and it has become an everyman can be a citizen journalist. But here the question is that whether he stands for this type of passion for justice, passion for the truth, passion for this protection of the human rights. This type of questions, when we report something, or when we report something, everyone has to be very careful about that one. So the thing is that whatever is said and done, it's a very important thing in a society is nothing but freedom of press. And the thing is that wherever there is freedom of press, then we can see that justice and equitable society also. Now we all are suffering because of this COVID-19 pandemic. If there was freedom of press in that country, China, so sometime the Wuhan incident would have been confined and constrained into that area itself. It would not have been a global suffering at all. So we are now undergoing that suffering because of that. There was no freedom of press. I said that whatever is that is limited, how free, whatever may be the limitation to be free, to tell the truth. But media or the freedom of press is the most essential in any progress, any civilized society. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have given us a perfect start for the evening. Good evening, all. I am Anand Haridas, a member of Mission Better Tomorrow. Post-post talks is something remarkable that happened to us during the pandemic. While the world plunged into the endless gloom, we lit this little lamp, and today we are reaching out to thousands across the world, spreading positivity and make them explore possibilities. This is the 10th edition of Post-Post Global Talk. We had Nobel laureates, celebrated authors, top diplomats, national award-winning actors on this floor, and today we have someone very special. As one of the poems of Bertolt Brecht goes, in dark times, will there also be singing? Yes, there will also be singing about the dark times. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have amongst us one such talent who keeps singing about the dark times and keeps us reminded about our realities. Sagarika ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for including me in this wonderful program, which is called POS, which stands for positivity, because I think in today's times, we really need positivity and positive energy and positive constructive, positive advice on how to go about our lives. And also, I have to tell you, I'm a big fangirl of Kerala. I really love Kerala. I mean, I've been there so many times. I've covered elections there. I was just there recently covering the election. So anytime anybody invites me to, give a talk in Kerala, I'm always ready to be there.
So let's start, ma'am. Indian media. We are mentioning about Indian media. Indian media has come a long way from the nationalistic press it used to be in the late 19th century. As Vijayan sir has rightly pointed out in his excellent introductory speech, we have moved from about 200 daily newspapers to 17,000 of them. From individual publications printed in back alleys and basements, the media houses today are multi-million-dollar enterprises. At the same time, Internet has also created a space for small, independent, crowd-funded media houses. So, ma'am, we are talking about liberty and the media. Let's start with your thoughts on this new landscape that is emerging for the Indian media. And also, we would like to listen from you whether these small players that are emerging in this neutral space, the liberated space of Internet, do they have more or less power compared to the conventional press? And are they free to exercise their freedom of speech?
Very good question. And that was a very good speech also, Mr. Vijayan. I loved what he said about journalists and policemen. Actually, we have lots in common, because in rain and storm and sunshine, whenever there's anything happening, whether there's an event, whether there's a crime, it's the journalist and the policeman who are standing there in the rain and storm. And there was one policeman who I remember I was covering the Jessica Lal case, and he told me, "Madam, aadhi tufan mein aap hai aur hum hai." So the journalist and the policeman actually often are, have a lot in common. Although I would say that police sometimes tends to become the oppressor, as Mr. Vijayan also says. To come to the media, and your excellent question, there has been a sea change in the manner in which the media has progressed in the last 75 years of India's independence. I came back to journalism. I came back to India in 1991. I was fresh out of Oxford. I joined the Times of India. And in those days, we used to make, pages on bromide. We used to have, there used to be the typesetters, and the page used to roll out from the bromide machines, and we would put them on the page and the newspaper would be printed. That was the era of the newspaper. It was the era of what I call slow journalism. You wrote a story, it went through several filters, it then went onto the page, and the news came to you the day after an event had happened. From then to now, we are seeing an explosion. It's like a cataclysm. You have the world of News 360. You've got television, you've got newspapers, you've got digital, you've got Instagram, you've got social, you've got News Hangama, you've got News 24, you've got your Facebook feed. It's coming at you in a 360 environment, and it's coming at you in real time. That is, there is no time for you to now filter the news or digest the news, or for someone to actually filter the news and, and check it and fact check it and then put it out before the press. What happens before the people? Now what happens is the time of clickbait. It's the time of eyeballs. It's the time of attention economy. So you just have to put out your story right there, right then. It happens. You have to put it out. So who's breaking the news faster? Who's breaking the news first? Who's breaking the news 24/7? All these factors are now in place. So there's been a sea change in the media. Now, the challenges before the media are internal and external. Two facets of challenges are there. What are the internal challenges before the media? The internal challenges before the media is that the business model of advertising-driven media, whether it's television or whether it's newspapers, is broken. It's finished. It's gone. It's very difficult now for advertising-driven news organizations to have the wherewithal to produce news. News is commodified. News has no value. Nobody is willing to pay for news. The TV channel that you get comes to you for a very, very, for nothing. You don't pay the news channel anything. So, as I always say, when you pay peanuts, you'll get monkeys. So if you don't pay for quality news, a lot of newspapers now abroad are actually going in for the subscription model. They're actually going in for models by which viewers and readers and citizens actually pay for news. When you pay for news, you actually pay for excellence. You actually pay for the journalist to put his put her best foot forward, give you the best stories, give you the excellent news, give you the quality news, give you the top class news that you need and that you want because you're paying for it. If you're not paying for it, if the advertiser is paying for it, if the advertiser is paying the salary of the journalist, then the news organization is going to work for the advertiser. It's not going to work for the viewer. It's not going to work for the reader. It's not going to work for the citizen. So this is what happens when TV channels begin to chase TRPs, when newspapers began to chase advertising, when you have this breakneck competition for ads. You know, as Mr. Vijay had mentioned, 400 television news channels. My figure is there are 397 licensed news channels today. They're all competing for the same advertising. They're all competing for the same brands. So in this competition, you need to chase your TRPs. You need the sensational stories. You need the commercialized stories. You need the sort of, the eyeball creating stories. For example, Sushant Singh murder case. Nobody knows. I mean, very few people are aware of the ins and outs of that, but that became the big news to the exclusion of farmers' protests, to the exclusion of pandemics, to the exclusion of health issues, education issues, rural reporting. All this is put by the wayside, and you have this focus on sensation. And this is because television channels are chasing TRPs. Why are television channels chasing TRPs? Because TRPs means money. TRPs is what pays your salary. TRPs is what pays the journalist. So that's why television channels are chasing TRPs in order to keep their revenue stream going, which is why I say the business model is broken. The business model of commercial media is broken. It needs to be rethought. Some of us are very involved in this because we are looking at ways in which we can create subscription-driven news, citizen-driven news, viewer-driven news, reader-driven news, and how we can force the citizen or encourage the citizen to become a stakeholder in news so that you pay for excellence. Those are the internal challenges. The external challenges is, what Mr. Vijayan omitted to mention in his otherwise excellent speech, is really the political executive. The political executive today is so powerful, is so overweeningly powerful. And I don't mean any particular party, but just, as a constitutional aberration. We are in times of not democracy. We are in times of elected autocracy. In the 1930s, the enemy of democracy was supposed to be communism. In the 1940s, the enemy of democracy was supposed to be fascism. Today, the enemy of democracy is democracy. Because you have leaders who are coming through the democratic process who are not interested in democracy. They are themselves elected leaders, but they are not interested in preserving the democratic structure. Now, democracy is not just about votes. It's not just about winning elections. Electoral majorities are transitory. They're temporary. What is a majority today could be a minority tomorrow. Democracy means respecting the constitution, respecting institutions, respecting the rules and norms of democratic behavior. It means that you don't use organs of state to intimidate and harass your opponents. It means you tolerate the right to disagree. You tolerate dissent. You tolerate the opposition. You tolerate the media. You have to be you have to accept that democracy means fundamentally accepting criticism, accepting dissent. And what is the journalist? The journalist is the agent of the citizen. The journalist has to ask questions. I'm not asking a question to a politician because I have some personal problem with him. I'm asking the question because I'm the agent of the citizen and I'm asking on behalf of the citizen. Now, if you criminalize me, if you say that, oh, she's asking a question, she's a journalist, she's asking a question, put sedition on her, put various sections of the law on her, maybe even jail her simply because she's asking a question, simply because she's speaking up for people who need to be spoken up for, then where is democracy? Then what is this democracy that we are so proud of? So are we a democracy today in India? We have to ask ourselves this question. I think we are not a democracy. We are now heading towards an elected autocracy. And this is not party specific. I think political executives are becoming so powerful. And you see, the constitutional balance of India is judiciary, executive, legislature, and fourth estate. Now, if one aspect of this constitutional balance becomes so powerful and so overwhelming and so dominant, then the other rungs of the other arms of the constitution can't stand up. The judiciary can't stand up. The parliament can't stand up. The opposition can't stand up. The media is anyway finished. We're talking about the police forces. Can the police forces stand up? Can there be a free citizen? Our democracy and our constitutional structure and our constitutional framework is based on the freedom of the citizen. The citizen is the sovereign. The citizen is the ruler. The citizen is the soldier of democracy.
That's a very interesting.
What is happening is that this external challenge of the extremely powerful political executive is taking away the focus from the citizen and making democracy about the political executive. The government has all the freedom. The government has all share any information. The citizen is the one that has to be oppressed and the one that has to be harassed and the one that has to be intimidated through agencies of state by using state agencies.
Ma'am, the balance between the four estates that need to be established for the seamless, perfect functioning of democracy. I think we can take a question here, ma'am. Ms. Anumida Devi, she has a question related to this subject that you have just now raised. Anumida is a journalism student at the Christ University, Bangalore. Anumida, are you online?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah, Anumida, please go ahead with the question.
Yes. Good evening, ma'am. It's a big honor. So this is my question. So the media is often known as the fourth estate, and it is an important pillar of democracy. It bridges a gap between people, institutions, and the government. And in an ideal world, the media should be unbiased. It should be independent today. And do you think this ideal can ever be achieved?
I think in the death throes, it's in the agony of death. The large media houses are prostrate before the political executive. The small, digital media outlets do exist, but the issue with digital media is often that they may not be viable, and second of all, how do you know what to trust and what not to trust? Yes, there are a few very legitimate outlets that are out there, but there's so much available online, so much digital material available that often it's an issue to decide who to trust and what news to trust. But in terms of truth to power, in terms of independence, in terms of the freedom of the press, all that is gone. It's gone. It's up in smoke. The independence of the media today is in severe jeopardy. The independence of journalists is in severe danger. Journalists are in danger of their lives, actually. Some of us who are in the urban centers, who are raising our voices at what's going on, we are protected in a way because we are well known. We have profiles. But look at what's happening to journalists in small towns who are exposing the sand mafia, or exposing the cement mafia, or exposing various corrupt practices. I mean, they are literally facing dangers to their lives. So, I think we have to be very realistic about what the challenges are in India at the moment. The challenges are in India at the moment that we are an elected autocracy. The free press, it can barely breathe. The free press is on the verge of extinction, I would say. Yes, there is a lot of freedom available online. Wire, there's a scroll, there's a print. These are extremely good news outlets and reliable outlets. But there's also, as I say, a lot of stuff online which is untrustworthy. There is the scourge of fake news. Fake news often is false information which is produced on an entire information ecosystem of democracy. You see, democracy relies on an information ecosystem. We need to know what is the truth. We need to know what the facts are. Everything can't be opinion. Everything can't be what I perceive or what I think. There are facts, there are truths. And how free is the journalist to tell truths, to speak truths to power? I would say not free at all. The big media houses, sad to say, have been have been in a situation of surrender to the political executive. The political executive has shown that it is not above using state agencies and using the arms of the state to oppress, to harass, to intimidate, to browbeat any entity or any outlet that challenges it. We've seen the raids on Dainik Bhaskar. You've seen the manner in which certain journalists have been forced to leave their jobs. I myself quit my anchoring post in 2014 from CNN IBN because I was convinced that I could not carry on as an independent person in television. Television media is completely, it's Godi media, as they say, and it's compromised by its various, its various sort of engagements with the government of the day, various relationships with the government of the day. So I think it's a very sad day for the freedom of the press. So, speaking truth to power, there are a handful of journalists who are doing it. Most are not doing it. Telling the truth, some of us are trying, but the truth is increasingly endangered. The truth is difficult. The truth is difficult to speak. And journalists, have often, the journalists who do speak the truth or who try to speak the truth are often in danger of their lives. So it's a bad time to want to be a journalist. But as I say, if you are wanting to be a journalist and you are a young person, I don't want to disillusion you, be platform agnostic. You don't say I will be a TV journalist or I'll be a print journalist or I'll just be a digital. Just, you need to have talents to do everything, to write, to blog, to shoot your story, to Facebook your story, to Instagram your story. So you need to be platform agnostic and put out your story and put out your investigation as many platforms and as many outlets as you can. I think that's the lesson I would give to young journalists. That's the message I would give to young journalists. And also, you have to be very, very brave. In today's times, to be a journalist, you have to be extremely brave. You have to be a little crazy, actually, to do what we do. Because if you don't have that slight element of lunacy, it's difficult to survive in this environment. So I think we need to be realistic about what's happening in India at the moment.
Yeah, that's a platform. Being a platform agnostic is the right advice that you can give to the aspiring journalists in the time. Now I am turning the focus from the journalistic point of view to the reader point of view, because Vijayan sir has flagged this issue of truth. Traditionally, journalism has always carried with it the expectation of truth. And now you have rightly said that the conventional process of journalism is facing a threat. And this has been changed drastically by the coming of internet. Internet has removed all these expectations. Every person is free to express their opinion without any regulation to ensure the veracity of the story. And now you have advised the being platform agnostic, putting out the story in different platforms. So as a reader, what can we do to identify the truth and denounce the lies? So where does that filtering happen?
It's difficult. You see, I would say that as readers, the days of opening one newspaper or opening one TV channel or relying only on one outlet for your news, those days are gone. I think we will all have to work hard at our news. We will have to work hard at looking at different outlets, which is why I say we have the luxury today of many different outlets. We have the luxury today of internet, we have the TV, we have the newspaper. So we have the luxury of several different entities, news entities we can look at. And I think all of us need to now look at several entities. We have, online, we can look at so many different outlets. Rather than, that one, there used to be the time in the 1950s when, you would read that one newspaper and that would be the source of news, or there would be that one TV channel that you would look at. But I would say that, in fact, that those days are gone. I think we have to look at many more outlets and look at as many as you can. There is also the issue of fake news. And fake news, I think, is something we should all be aware. As a society, we need to become media aware. We need to become media literate. What is the meaning of media aware and media literate? You see, there are at this moment, because of, as you rightly say, the availability of the internet and the availability of internet technology, there are some very powerful vested interests who are producing false information and wrong information and lies on an industrial scale. They're producing it on a massive scale. And this is being disseminated across platforms, across the internet. So what is happening is that this fake news is actually flooding our environment. And we need to be aware of what is fake news and what is real news. What are the social media companies doing? You see, social media companies, whether it's Facebook or it's Twitter, these are algorithm driven. And they are part of what is called surveillance capitalism. You see, they surveil you and get your data and get your profile and then feed you the advertising and the information that they think that you will consume. That's how the algorithm works. Facebook has an algorithm. Twitter has an algorithm. So when you tweet or when you go onto Facebook and you like this or you like that, Twitter and Facebook are developing profiles of you. Has anybody seen the documentary called The Social Dilemma?
It's a beautiful thing.
It's yeah, you should watch that actually, because it shows how social media companies, these tech-driven, profit-driven, advertising-driven, algorithm-driven companies are actually engaging in this surveillance capitalism. You see, they need to get your attention. And in order to get your attention, they are harnessing the darker aspects of human nature: hate speech, violent speech, murders, riots. All of this gets your attention. So you're hooked. And once you're hooked, then you're a target for advertising. And once you're a target for advertising, you will be fed the kind of advertising that they think you will want. So you get imprisoned into your own little world of getting what Facebook is giving you. You see, when you log on to Facebook, for example, you don't decide what you see. Facebook decides what you see. When you log on to Twitter, you don't decide what you will see. Twitter gives you your timeline. And it gives you your timeline based on the algorithm, which is formed an opinion, which has come to a conclusion about what you are as a person. And so therefore, the idea is to keep you engaged on social media, to keep you addicted. And many people can't break out of this addiction. I keep telling people, get off social media, do 1 hour of social media every day, not more. Because if you're addicted to social media, you will keep doing social media and become vulnerable to an enormous amount of fake news, because there's a lot of fake news out there on social media. And we need to become very media literate about what is fake and what is not, because there are a lot of fact-checking websites now. I mean, Alt News is doing tremendous work. There is Boom Live. There are various fact-checking outlets. Conventional media also does fact-checking. So there are fact checkers, there are fake news busters, there are